Judy, please, move. Hey gang, and welcome to another Animal Crossing video. I'm Crossing Channel, and the 2.0 version brought us a ton of brand new features that we had actually known about for quite a long time. Although the update finally dropped in November 2021, we knew about some of these features since the game came out, as they had been data mined. However, even though these big features like the Roost and Gyroids, which have been data mined, are now finally in the game, there are still more unreleased updates which we haven't seen added. So in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at some of these unreleased updates in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Quickly, I wanted to mention that I'm over on Twitch streaming Animal Crossing New Horizons every week. I've just started a brand new island as well, and we've been going through the start of the game together. So definitely drop me a follow over at twitch.tv/crossingchannel, and also if you missed any of the streams, you can watch the highlights over on my second channel, Game with Ben. Both the links are in the description. So this first one was actually discovered quite a long time ago by Ninji, who is a prominent Animal Crossing New Horizons data miner. Ninji discovered so many things which did actually make it into the game, including the 2.0 version. And this one makes total sense. It's the museum shop. Now, at this point, it seems unclear whether this code could have just been misinterpreted or not. However, it is certainly interesting when you look at the museum layout. Now, of course, we do have the Roost newly added to the left side of the museum. However, the right side remains empty, and it certainly does look a bit strange. This definitely does make me think that at some point they could have planned to have a museum shop in the game. After all, we did have one in Animal Crossing New Leaf, and the museum is already so upgraded with many different features in this version, so it would have made sense for them to add this as well. Sadly though, this is something that we've never seen, and due to the fact that they don't plan on doing any more major updates, it doesn't seem like we will ever see this at any point in the future. Still though, it's always going to kind of bother me that the museum just doesn't feel very symmetrical at the moment. It would have just been so nice to have another door on the other side, and some kind of museum shop where you could pick up some really cool new items. There is also blathers selling posters, so maybe that's what the code meant, but I really doubt it would be that well defined all that time ago just for it to be blathers selling some posters. I don't think that's what it was. An observatory on this side would have been absolutely fantastic as well, like we had in the past Animal Crossing games, but I really don't think that was ever planned for Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is certainly a shame because it would have been nice to have Celeste do more in the game. Speaking of the museum, it seems like there was some kind of planned Gyroid section here as well. Now, we don't know exactly what this means, it's all very vague, but I definitely could envision the fact that maybe at some point there was going to be some kind of Gyroid display or section in this little boxed off area in the Roost. The layout of the Roost is honestly so strange, and this whole area just being completely blocked off like this does feel very unusual, like maybe at some point there could have been something there. As we all know, Brewster absolutely loves Gyroids, and they made their return in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and they're just cuter than ever. You can also now grow them in a different way, which you could never do in past Animal Crossing games, so Gyroids are really awesome in this version, but there are no real incentives to collect them in the game aside from displaying them, which is definitely fun to do. It would have been really cool if you could actually display Gyroids in the Roost and maybe they would sort of chime along with the music or something like that, or maybe you would actually have to complete some kind of collection challenge in here as well. I would have really loved that, but it seems like something they decided against doing. It is also maybe possible that this code could be referring to the Gyroids which are in Brewster's stock room. However, again, I doubt they would have defined this just for a little area behind him, which isn't actually used for anything. It doesn't have any functionality. We'll never really know what they were planning unless somehow they come out and mention what things they were going to add but didn't, which I would actually love to hear, though I personally don't see Nintendo talking about that at any point. That would be amazing though, and I'd love to know exactly what was scrapped. Regardless though, I do absolutely love the new Gyroids in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I love the fact that you can get a special Brewstoid from Brewster as well. I'm really happy that they added that in. Whilst we're in the Roost, I just want to quickly mention that it doesn't seem like there was ever any evidence that we could work in the Roost like you could back in Animal Crossing New Leaf, so it seems like this is something that they never planned upon adding to the game. This is another thing that I definitely find a shame, as I did love working here in the past games, and I much preferred getting the rewards this way rather than just drinking at the Roost every day, but it is what it is, and I'm still super happy that the Roost did eventually make it back to Animal Crossing New Horizons, since it was probably one of the most speculated unreleased updates until it came out. So this is the big one for me. It seems like at some point Nook's Cranny potentially had another upgrade. Now I am so sad that they did not decide to do this in the game. If Animal Crossing New Horizons is your first Animal Crossing game, then you might not know that Nook's Cranny would actually upgrade many different times in the past games, with the store getting bigger each time. You'd unlock new inventory slots in there and so much more, and it was absolutely fantastic. It really added a great sense of progression to the game. But for some reason in Animal Crossing New Horizons, you only have two versions of Nook's Cranny, and both of them are called Nook's Cranny when in past games that have their own unique names. From early datamines, it does seem like maybe Nintendo did plan upon adding another upgrade, but for some reason decided against it. Now, they did improve Nook's Cranny in this version by adding many new items to it, which is definitely a good thing, but the fact that it just can't upgrade and there's no real progression here once you've gotten the final version just makes me so sad. It feels like one of the absolute biggest missed opportunities in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and even though I am really happy with all the amazing stuff they've added in, especially stuff like Harvey's Island, which has improved shopping so much, it does feel really disappointing that Nook's Cranny never got to live up to its full potential. I definitely think in the next Animal Crossing game we need this sense of progression back, and Nook's Cranny needs lots of new upgrades. This is something that a lot of new players are definitely missing out on, so if you do get the chance to go back to the old Animal Crossing games, you'll know what I mean when you go through upgrading all of the different Nook's Crannies. It's fantastic and a really iconic part of the games. What version we would have actually seen is anyone's guess. It could have been like the old ones in the game, but I imagine it would have been a more rustic version to match with the deserted island theme that they're going for. I doubt they would have gone for something crazy like Nookingtons. They probably would have just gone for something more like a convenience store. Maybe that's why they didn't do it, because they struggled to find the right sort of style for it, but I would have rather had a Nook's Cranny which maybe looked out of place, or maybe we could have even customized than not have a Nook's Cranny upgrade at all. This is a smaller one but a fun one, and some people actually think this could still happen. It was datamined that potentially crossover characters like the ones you see now on screen were originally planned to come to Animal Crossing New Horizons, and of course we did actually get some of them. The Sanrio characters were added in a big update last March. These characters basically had catchphrases defined for them in the code of the game, they just weren't properly finished yet. Now, with big games like Splatoon 3 and Breath of the Wild 2 still coming out, it does feel possible that maybe we could see these characters added in a more minor update. After all, Nintendo did say no more major updates would come to the game, and adding in a few new characters doesn't really feel like a major one, but we don't know exactly what they mean by that. I personally wouldn't get your hopes up for this though. Maybe it's just something that they left over from past Animal Crossing games and never bothered to remove. I personally would love to see these crossover characters return though. We have a lot of new villages to enjoy in this game, but we're still missing some from Animal Crossing New Leaf, which does feel like a shame. Now this one is really recent and it's super interesting to me. It's the fact that this update which we're on right now, the 2.0.4 update, is actually defined internally as the 2.1 update. What's really interesting about this is that the 0.1 would indicate that the developers consider this a more significant update, yet it wasn't really defined as such in the actual game, as we see it as 2.0.4, so it could suggest that they may still plan upon doing something else for 2.1 which we'll see released publicly. Who knows exactly what this could be? The 0.1 and 2 and 3 updates that we got in the years of 2020 and 2021 generally added seasonal items and stuff like that, especially at the end. Earlier on they did add some more major features, but I think we can kind of agree those won't be happening. So maybe the 2.1 update could still happen and add in some new items or something else like we saw over the course of 2021. Who knows though, maybe it's just something they did internally to keep track of it a certain way. We really don't know exactly what they're thinking here, but this one is super recent and really interesting to me, so I thought I'd mention it all the same. Still though, I would not get your hopes up for a more significant update coming to the game, as Nintendo was very clear about them not doing any more. What do you think though? Leave your comments down below about these unreleased updates and what you would have liked to see come to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm so sad that we never got a Nook's Cranny upgrade. I can still dream though, and I really wish this is something we'd see one day, but it doesn't seem likely. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on those channel notifications for more. I want to give a big thanks to these channel members for their continued support of me and what I do here on this channel. If you want to become a channel member, click the join button down below the video or the link in the description to learn more. You can get a whole bunch of cool perks like exclusive emojis, a badge by your name, access to our members only Discord and our members only podcast too.